You get enough CO?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Thanks
for making sure we found the
Yeah, no worries.
We appreciate that.
I don't have to make an opening statement, do I?
You can if you want
Just
to.
excited to be here. Hosting the Super Regional. That's all that needs to be said. So I'll answer any questions.
Yeah, last week you talked about how you felt like you should have been a top 8 national seed. Do you feel like it all kind of worked out the way it should have?
Yeah, obviously we felt like that, but once it's decided, it's decided. There's no reason to worry about it or complain about it. It is what it is, and we got fortunate that we were able to host this weekend against a great club with great tradition. I'm just excited for our fans and our players to be able to play at home.
Is it kind of surprising when you hear that these teams haven't played in 33 years, just given how good they were under Coach Fox? They've been under Coach Van Horn.
Yeah, I was here, I've been here with Coach Fox a long time, and obviously, Arkansas has been in Omaha when we've been in Omaha, maybe a time or two, but to never face each other's kind of amazing, honestly. And I believe the last time that they played was 1989, and our director of operations was on that team,
Okay.
Dave Arendas, which is pretty wild.
And that's the only time they've played.
Is that the only time?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Dance's dad was on that team.
Yeah.
Yep, Bob. Yeah, that's right.
What are your impressions of the Arkansas program, both this year and maybe just long term?
Yeah, a lot of respect. When I watched them play, they reminded me a lot of us, and maybe they feel the same way. They play hard, they're fundamentally sound. I felt like Coach Van Horn and Coach Fox were very similar to the way they coached, it looked like to me. And I've known the guys there and the assistant coaches, and Hobbs was at Wake Forest, so I've gotten to know him well and have a great friendship with him. So I would just say a lot of respect for what they've done.
How have you seen Brandon Schaefer recover after what he did over the weekend?
Really well. It worked out really good for us. If one day's rest like that, you have to have a cap. You can't let a kid go out there that next day and throw 110. So he didn't throw that many. He got us into the fourth. He did his job, and he says he feels as good as he's felt all year. So that's a good thing. But he takes care of himself, and he's got a low maintenance delivery.
Arkansas's got a transfer of Chris Lanzilli, who was at Wake Forest. What do you remember about him from his Wake Forest time? And do you know much about what he's done this year?
Yeah, obviously, I know a lot about what he's done this year because we can, now with video you can watch so much. But heck of a player at Wake. We didn't play Wake last year, and we had COVID the year before, so we haven't seen him a ton, but we do know a lot of him and how talented he is.
I guess is Carlson going to be your starter?
He is.
What would he's obviously had a good year. What would you say about him? What did he bring to the table for you guys?
Yeah, he's a competitor. He had, we thought he was going to be out this entire year. He had Tommy John, but it was modified, and it was the bracing last year, so we got him back for this season, which was a big bonus for us. And honestly, I've been surprised at how well he's come back from that, and his velocity has continued to tick up. His command's improved as the season's moved along. So it's been good to see him knock that rust off for a kid that had not pitched and didn't get a pitch for us the whole fall. His first, live outing was in a scrimmage before the season. So he's continued to improve, and he's a big reason we've been able to make the run that we've made.
What is he hitting on his fastball now? And what all does he throw?
He's going to be fastball. He's 4-pitch guy, fastball, slider, curveball, change. His velocity can be up early to 96, but he's going to settle in 92, 93.
And you guys, I know it's one. I think Mikey said you guys were 8-13 in the ACC at one time. So I'm not good at math, but I think that means you're 15-3 since then. Obviously playing really good competition. What do you think's been the key to catching fire here late?
They probably answered it better than me. As a coach, you're only as good as your players, and this has always been a great group. And I just think that they, started believing in themselves. We got a couple big wins. We won the series over at NC State. Got some momentum, and baseball's a game of momentum, and at the end of the day we started pitching better and we started playing better defense.
Scott, what would you say has been the key to the improvements Mikey's made at the plate over his first 2 years?
Honestly, I think just the word confidence with Mikey, I think he lost it when he struggled mightily when he got back here. And a credit to him, he kept staying at it in the weight room, kept working in the cages with Coach Wiersbicky. And I also think this year, I've been there, you get to a realization where this might be your last year playing, and you have some self-awareness that you may not get drafted. And then all of a sudden you start having fun again. And I think that's what I've seen with Mikey. He seems to be having a blast. He's not putting all that added pressure on himself. And it might have freed him up a little bit too, get him in the outfield. He was a second baseman. So yeah, I would say, just his confidence and all the work him and Coach Weirs have put in the bat to shorten up his swing.
Scott, go ahead.
Good, you go.
Team scored at least 15 runs in 22 games last week. We saw some football scores. To what do you attribute that to?
I don't know. A lot of people were saying the baseballs might be juiced. I know that they're hard. Obviously, the seams were lower. They lowered those after, I think the 13 or 14 season. But every park, it doesn't matter big or small, they're flying, and they sound like they're flying and that they're pretty hard. So, I think the ball has a lot to do with it, but I also think the powerful hitters now, they're just bigger, stronger, more physical kids. We're still in the BB core bat, so I don't think it's necessarily the bats being juiced or anything. The bats are tested. But I do think they've modified the balls where they're they're closer to professional baseballs now, maybe even to the AAA or Major League level.
You guys are 33-7 at home. Obviously, a really good record. How big a home field advantage do you think y'all have for the Super Regional?
I think the better traditional teams that have a lot of history should be better at home, and obviously we're one of those. We definitely have a home field advantage. You still have to play, but we're glad to be playing at home. That's for sure.
And how do you think this ballpark plays? Arkansas's never played here.
It's pretty straight up. Normally, this last weekend, like Greg said, the ball was going out everywhere. But normally, this ballpark is about as, the right center gap can be a little bit short, but usually you have to hit it for it to go out. And if you do hit it, you get rewarded for it. So it's been a pretty fair, straightforward park, in my opinion, during all these years.
You've got a lot of guys on this team that have not been at this point because of the COVID year and then because of last year's season. Have you seen them kind of be even keel, business as usual, or has there been any sort of maybe attitude or something like that kind of change?
Yeah, I think the guys that we have had, fortunately, some of the guys here played in Omaha in 18. So there's a big gap, in between them. But I do think last year was a very good experience for us to get in a regional, to go to Texas Tech, to have to play in a tough environment. Because everybody that you look at on the field that is in the lineup played at Texas Tech except for Vance. Obviously Carlson was injured, but I tell you, it also helped to be playing against NC State. I thought that was huge that we were playing them. I didn't know if we were going to win or they were going to win, but I thought moving forward it's important to play in front of 10,000 plus because you have to be able to play in front of them as you move forward and get bigger games.
You guys seem loose out there, Scott, in practice. You saw you shimmy once out there. That was pretty nice. You looking at your guys' eyes. Do you feel like they're feeling loose and ready for this thing?
I do, and that's your job. That's my job as a coach to learn from experiences. I felt like in 2017 we had one of the best teams we've had here in a long time. But they had not been in a regional in 15 and 16. I always said to myself, okay, we did a better job in 18 of saying, okay, you know what you're going to feel like. And we didn't probably talk to our team maybe as much as we should have in 17 because it's different. You're going to be more anxious. You're going to be more amped up. And that's what I talked to them about today. But you have to continue to do what you've been doing. And we have a saying, what separates firemen from everybody else when there's a fire is they go into the fire and everybody else runs out. And we've been saying that really since we've made this run, like, hey, you just got to go after it. And what happens is what will happen. But the other thing is we spend a lot of time here on perspective. We have a lot of interaction at the Children's Hospital. We have a young man, Bryce, that's kind of become part of our team that's 9 years old fighting cancer. When you talk to your guys about stuff like that and remind them constantly, they can't help but at least think about it, that it is a game. And now more than ever, I want them to enjoy it, no matter what. I don't want them to feel like it's pressure. I want them to look at it like, hey, this is awesome. We should be excited just to have the opportunity.
Well, Scott, along those same lines, do you talk to your team about winning the first game, of the Super Regional, because you don't want to be fighting from behind again?
No, we just say it's a weekend series. Our goal every game is to win the game, but it's to win a weekend series when you're in the ACC, the SEC, whatever league it is. You're trying to win series, and that's what we're trying to do this weekend. I explained to them that, things are going to happen throughout these games, throughout this series that we're going to have to deal with. A lot of times the team that can deal with those the best and have the best reaction to those and get back up off the mat and end up coming out on top. So, I don't talk to them about that first game. I just talk to them about playing 27 outs, and then we'll play 27 outs again.
Scott, looking at Arkansas, how much do you look at what they did against Oklahoma State, scoring late, and kind of talking to some of your later inning guys about what to expect? Have you had those conversations with them?
Honestly, no. I tell you, the longer I do this, the more I let us as coaches, if there are certain things that we need to talk to our team about, they run a certain defense. They like to throw behind in this situation, or they run a back pick. Okay, but otherwise, it's really about us. It's about your team and how we play, and doing what we do best. So, our guys, they watch these games when they get home. They're aware of Arkansas and how good they've been and the tradition they have. And at the end of the day, we have to play well. So we don't really talk to our relievers about that. We just say, hey, you keep doing what you've been doing and making the pitches that you need to make, and hopefully the results will come out in our favor.
Scott, when you're telling these guys the Bosch magic is real, they were up here saying it, like, what thoughts does that sort of conjure in your mind? Like, what does the Bosch magic being real mean to you?
Yeah, just being here so long and seeing games that sometimes, even as a coach, you think, man, I don't know about this one. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it done. And all of a sudden, you're celebrating. We've been down in a lot of games. In 2007, I remember it really well. I remember all these games really well. We're down to South Carolina, maybe 5-2, and we get a couple guys on. Flack gets another big home run.
Right.
So that's what I explained to our guys. Like, you have to be careful being a team that can only, we talked about this before the season, that can only play well when you're ahead. It's easier to play when you're ahead, but it's also more gratifying when it's harder. So, but I've seen it, you saw it against Florida State. You saw it when Alberto stepped up there and got that big home run against one of the better lefties we faced all year. So that's part of playing at home and knowing that you got a little bit of that magic on your side, hopefully.
Scott, you've been a part of so many Carolina teams that have made these deep postseason runs. What is unique? I know comparison is tough, but what's unique about this team in this moment in the Super Regional?
I tell you, this team, you don't like to make too many comparisons, but this team reminds me a lot of the 2011 team from the standpoint nobody really expected much out of the team. We expected a lot out of it. We expected a lot out of every team here in North Carolina. But we weren't preseason ranked. We weren't picked to make a regional. We weren't picked to finish in the top 10, I believe, in our league for the most part. And it was the same way in 11. 11 team had 2 starters, and then we kind of went TBA. We had a good closure about then in Michael Moore, and we matched up out of the bullpen. So, those characteristics, but the biggest one was that 11 team, they believed. They didn't care what anybody else thought. And that's what I've seen with this team. Like, they believe that in themselves, and that's all at the end of the day you need.
Where do they find that self-belief?
From leadership in that locker room. Angel Zarate and Denny Sharetti coming back to school and not signing professionally. We got a ton of older pitchers that have been here a while, Davis Palermo and Nick Pride. And also, they know, Angel Zarate wasn't even ranked by any recruiting service, and he's almost got 100 hits. So they know that, we talk about hard work, and we talk about it just in general, discipline and hard work, and how if you work hard enough and you're disciplined, you're going to be rewarded. Not just in baseball, but when you leave the University of North Carolina, you get out in the real world. If you're lazy and you don't put in the work, you're not going to get the results you want. And this team has put in the work. And then since they do that, I think they trust when the game starts, it's going to go their way.
Scott, you may have already addressed this on Monday, but what did you learn about this team watching them from TV and not being in the dugout with you?
Yeah, I tell you, I learned that they're fun to watch. Because when you're in the dugout, now I can see why the fans are having so much fun. They're just so much. They're a group that's got they're electric. You got a guy like Vance Honeycutt that can do the things he does. You're mixing and matching out of the bullpen. You got some fan favorites, on the team like an Alberto Osuna or an Angel Zarate. You got an older guy like Soretti. But I really appreciated how they played the Carolina way. They're not showboating. They're pointing at each other. I don't know if y'all have noticed that quite a bit. That's something we've worked on a lot last couple of years from Dean Smith. You know, point to somebody else. Don't point at yourself. Playing hard, running hard 90s, controlling their emotions. So, you know, I knew we would find that out in that doubleheader. And obviously it starts with me, so I probably should have controlled my emotions a little bit better the day before, but I was really proud of watching them play.
Did you watch that from your office, your home, or where'd you watch the game?
Can't tell you, it's an undisclosed location.
Okay.
Well,
From out of secret.
It's top secret.
How do you point to the passer in baseball? Like, well, you're talking about Dean. Like, how do you point to the passer in baseball? What's that about?
Well, it's not really, it's just like, you know, for instance, if Vance, you know, catches that ball in center field, Bovair is going to point to Vance.
Okay.
You know, if Mikey gets on working a long walk and then Vance drives him in, Vance is going to point at Mikey because Mikey got on base, which allowed him to drive him in. If a pitcher comes in and gets Carlson out of a jam, Carlson's going to be the first one up, pointing at him, things like that.
will you keep your rotation the same for this weekend?
Yeah, we'll keep the two guys in order. Don't ask me about the third.
Am I correct that Carlson and Schaefer both threw Monday during the game?
No, just Schaefer.
Okay. I wonder how does that deviate from what normal rest routine is for him, and maybe how this week's different for him?
Not much. He actually threw off 1 day's rest and then started, but he's gonna have 5 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 days. So that's a big league rest. He only threw 62 pitches or 57 pitches or something like that. So he'll be good. Carlson got an extra day. So we gotta keep our eyes on him. He might come out trying to throw 100.
You know, Arkansas hasn't announced rotation either. They've been using McIntyre quite a bit. They've even started him some. I just wonder what you've seen from their starters, and then McIntyre in particular, what makes him...
I mean, they're good. You know, they're prospects up and down their pitching staff, velocity, stuff. So we'll have our work cut out for us for sure. But it looks like a little bit they've kind of had to do what we have. You know, they got some starters and they've relied on their bullpen some.
Yeah, Connor Nolan, they haven't announced him, but I'm sure he'll start.
Yeah.
Number 13, would you have any thoughts on him?
He's good. He's older. Got a heck of a breaking ball. I think he'll be a big challenge for us.
And then Vance, 24 dingers for a freshman. I don't think that's anything you can anticipate. Has he surprised you at all, or what do you think's been the key to his power?
He's definitely surprised us. If you'd have told me Vance was going to hit 24 home runs, I'd have been like, no way. You know, maybe 10. But we saw the speed, we saw the work ethic, and we saw the potential. And again, I have to give our coaches credit. I mean, they work extremely hard. People don't see how hard they work and how much time, you know, from the hitting standpoint, Coach Wierzbicki and Coach Howell spend in those cages with those guys. And then you got to give credit to Vance because he spends the time to make the adjustments he needs to make.
I know we talk about Arkansas and Carolina. I've only played once, you know, eons ago. But do you know Dave Van Horn from, I don't know, coaching meetings or something?
I've just met Dave on the road recruiting, so I'm looking forward to talking to him more today in our meeting.
What are your thoughts about how he's done there at Arkansas?
I mean, he's a coaching legend, ton of respect. You know, enjoy watching him, and really looking forward to competing against him.
Mikey said Vance was the best player he's ever played with. I know you've got a few more years of baseball under your belt than Mikey, but how does Vance kind of, not rank, but what do you see there?
Man, you know, I don't want to put too much on him, but I remember talking to Coach Fox and telling him, this is the fastest kid I've ever coached. And he was kind of like, really? Like, 'cause we've had some fast ones, Brian Miller, Scott Bowl. I mean, I said, Coach, I mean, I remember Trey Turner against him, but it's as fast as Trey Turner. It's that electric, and I think he has a little bit more power than Trey Turner. He came in as a shortstop. I didn't think he was going to be the state shortstop, so we put him in center. But the more I watch Vance, the more I really believe that, you know, he could leave here one of the best we've ever had just because of his makeup and his work ethic. You know, those guys that, you know, like Tom Brady always says, you know, hard work becomes part of your character, and if you don't have it, you know, the talent will fade. So he's got the talent, but he's got the work ethic too, and that's the thing that makes him so special. And you know, Lord willing, he stays healthy, he's going to only get better.
Well, most of Arkansas thought they were on a trajectory to host a regional, maybe super. They went 4-8 down the stretch, got sent to Stillwater, but then they went there and beat Oklahoma State 2 out of 3. What do you think about the way they've kind of bounced back from a tough finish and the fact they went to Stillwater, won 2 out of 3 there?
I mean, it tells you all you need to know. You go into that environment and you win. You've got toughness. You've got some tough kids. You've got talented kids. But everybody in the country knows how good Arkansas is. And, you know, they just had a tough little stretch. And now, more than ever, it's really hard to be one of those 16 teams. And we just got fortunate that we got hot at the right time. So, you know, they'll be as talented as any team that we've played all year.
Scott, can you I'm not trying to drag it out. Can
No,
you pinpoint your
Nothing going on today. Like my daughter, high school graduation at 10 a.m., big dinner, and I've been more nervous about that than I have these games.
well, I have some
Or
some
emotional,
over
I guess. Now go ahead. Seriously, I'm no rush.
Can you pinpoint maybe your biggest wow moment for Vance? It just seems like there's so many to choose from. Maybe even not even in baseball. I mean, he's such a great.
What game was it? He caught a ball in the gap, and I didn't think.
Tailing away from him?
Yeah, the right center gap. Might have been Florida State. Is it Florida State? That I didn't think there was. I thought it was a double. I mean, like, oh yeah, it was Roberts. I think that hit it on their second baseman. We all thought, well, that's a double, and he just comes from nowhere and catches it. To me, it was even more impressive. Like, he's so athletic. He got to the wall, he timed it up, and he jumped. That was obviously a game saver. But how much ground he covered, because he was in the pull gap, if I was correct, to get to that ball has been, you know, was the most amazing thing.
You ever find yourself just watching him run?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the ball he hit the left field, and I'm coaching third against VCU, and then he realizes that he can get to third, and it's just like he has jets. And he turns them on. He's the only guy since I've been coaching third base, if I don't pay attention, he's by me. So, like, you know, I have to decide whether or not to send him, and I have to remind myself that's Vance, and I have to tell him fast or he's going to be by me.
Arkansas's catcher Michael Turner, number 12, he was the MVP, or most outstanding player. I guess the NCAA still might say MVP, but of the Stillwater Regional, I think he was 8 of 18, real good catcher, 3 guys out. Did you have a take on him?
Yeah, older, veteran, loved the way he plays, was at Kent State, had to work for everything that he's got, you can tell. You know, sometimes when you're at some of those mid-majors or junior colleges and you get a chance to go to an Arkansas or North Carolina, from the coaching standpoint, it can be extremely refreshing because those kids are just, they're in awe. You know, everything they get, they're like, holy Moses, this is the ACC, this is the SEC. So he's a heck of a player. He's had a great year for Coach Van Horn, you guys.
So your daughter had her graduation this morning?
10 a.m.
And what's her name?
Hannah.
Hannah, H-A-N-N-A.
H-A-N-N-A.
Probably in your bio, but
Yeah,
is that not, did they do that for you?
No, I got lucky. I was sweating it. I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to go to graduation and coach a game if we have to play today at noon, or if we're going to Oklahoma State. So, you know, we were just hoping and praying that it worked out, and it did. And, you know, you coach long enough, you really know what's important, and it's been a neat thing for me to be able to be involved in that, because I would have not been, I'd have been a little down in the dumps if I hadn't been able to be there.
Was it a nice ceremony?
It was awesome. Yep, and then we're gonna have a big old party, and none of y'all are invited tonight. We good? You got Angel? Y'all need Angel?